That was a jump scare. How's it going? How's it going, everyone? Can everyone hear me and see me? I think I've got the audio set up right. Let me know how everything is sounding and appearing. Did I got good visuals and sound? Hello, everyone. How's everyone going? Are you guys ready to learn about At the Mountains of Madness? Or if you've already read it, we're going to be going through it, talking about it, and all of the ideas that are present in it. I've also gathered some of my favorite quotes from it to read. It's an awesome story, very influential story. Um, Audio good, no video. Why the heck is there no video? Yeah, so we'll get the video taken care of in just a second as soon as I figure out what's going on with StreamYard. But yeah, we'll get that taken care of. Don't worry. Just gotta figure out why it's not showing video and try and remedy that issue. It's a thing with live streams sometimes. Sometimes you got to troubleshoot some issues. It was totally working before, but see if that can do anything to fix it. Do you see me now? Can you see me? Can you see my face? I think you guys can see me now from what I'm seeing over here. I think we're good. There we go. Not sure what that was. An issue with my streaming thing. So you're saying the audio was good? I'm not too low. We're gonna be streaming for probably a couple hours, so I want to troubleshoot everything and make sure everything is perfect in the beginning. Not too low, not too loud or clipping or anything. Excellent, excellent. Looks like we are good. So this is gonna be a very, very fun live stream where we talk about probably my favorite Lovecraft story ever. I've accepted that this one is my favorite one. It's probably moved past the Call of Cthulhu, which is probably like a nice second to this one. But this one is very, very influential. It's influenced things like The Thing, takes huge inspiration from this story. And also Prometheus, Ridley Scott's Prometheus, takes some pretty big inspiration from this story, among other things. But I really like it, and I've done a little video on it on the channel like several years ago, just diving into the narrative and some of the ideas. And there is also a podcast episode on Cosmic Chronicles where we totally dive into At the Mountains of Madness and Prometheus and ancient astronauts and all of that. But here I wanted to dive into the story again, really break it down, explain what I love so much about it and why I think it's so awesome and why I think they should definitely make an HBO miniseries out of this or some kind of high budget movie out of this because it totally deserves it. It's a great story. And I know a lot of people kind of have a problem with Lovecraft stuff because of who Lovecraft was as a person. But the way I see it is Lovecraft is no longer around. He's totally dead. He doesn't have any descendants. He's not benefiting at all from the fact that we're reading his stories or making movies out of his stories. And they're good stories because, he had a lot of what I'm saying? He was kind of a man that was a little bit afraid of the world and afraid of everything. And that you see that reflected in his stories. That doesn't make him not a good writer. It made him a better writer because you really see those authentic fears reflected in his stories. And that's why they're so powerful and so disturbing on a really, really primal level. Lovecraft stories are very disturbing because they're kind of reflecting some darkness inside of us. So, I'm just going to poll the chat. Have you guys read At the Mountains of Madness? Yes, no. Have you read it or heard about it? Let me know. I'm just going to ask before we get started. I'm going to gauge and see where everybody is at on this. Do you know what this story is about? Because if you don't know what it's about, if you've never read it, you're totally in for a huge treat with this stream because it is an awesome story. And the way it unfolds is super freaking sweet. Someone says, I cheated, I had an audiobook. Well, audiobook's not cheating, so you know. It looks like a good amount of you have actually read it. Some of you have no clue what it's about, which is awesome. It is, it's a great, great story about, you know, the lost history of the world, you know what I mean? I just think that's such a cool concept. And especially because this story is set in like the early, you know, 1900s. So it's like at that time, we still hadn't really explored every corner of the world. We didn't have like satellites in orbit that could scan the surface of the entire planet so we knew everything about everything. So there's deep mystery in history that kind of rhymes. But you know what I mean? I talk about in one of the podcast episodes how there are certain primordial barriers. One of them is the ocean, is this giant sea of mystery, this giant barrier that this threshold that's really difficult to cross and look into. And then the other one is the sea of stars, space, this huge ocean of mysteries that's really hard to see into and look into and cross over into. And the other great barrier is time itself. And that is what Lovecraft is playing into with this story. That mystery, that ocean of secrets, what waits in that ocean of secrets that is time. What mysteries lie at the center of creation. It's that's the kind of stuff we're getting into here. So it's really, really awesome. And thank you for your super chat, Pamela Dale. So without further ado, let's get into At the Mountains of Madness. And we got pictures. We totally got pictures. I picked out some good art. So all of the art that I'm going to be using is art by Berenger from that big book right there. He has a super awesome collection of illustrated books that depict at Mountain Man. It's the whole story and it's illustrated fully on every page and they're beautiful. So I have a bunch of that art that I'm going to use when we're talking about the story and it's going to be sick and I'm so excited to talk about this. So, At the Mountains of Madness, we start off with our character William Dyer, and he is a geologist at Miskatonic University in Arkham. And Arkham is a place that's mentioned in other Lovecraft stories as well, right? And at the beginning of this story, he is writing intensely to discourage a mission to Antarctica. Now, why is he writing so intensely to discourage this expedition to Antarctica? It's because he's already been to this place, the specific region that they're going. He's already been there, and it did not go good. And he's basically been keeping it a secret this entire time. But now that there's another expedition planned on going, he is willing to risk everything. His career, his reputation, just to have a chance to convince them to not go. Now, why is that? Now, that's what the story is about. So he doesn't care about any of the potential consequences of what he's doing. He just wants them not to go. Right? And here's one of my favorite quotes relating to this. Okay. It is absolutely necessary for the peace and safety of mankind that some of Earth's dark, dead corners and unplumbed depths be let alone, lest sleeping abnormalities wake to resurgent life, and blasphemously surviving nightmares squirm and splash out of their black layers to newer and wider conquest. So that's just setting it up, right? So thank you for your super chat, Andrew Batts. We will reserve the super chat questions till after I'm done like describing the main story. So I'll get you later, I promise. So the best way that he can think of to convince them not to go is basically to describe the events of what happened on his expedition, right? So he's like, I don't care if everyone thinks I'm crazy. I've got to get this out there because I have to have some chance of convincing them not to go. So basically, William Dyer and a whole expedition team, it was a large group, went on an expedition to Antarctica. And they land at Mount Terror. Now, Mount Terror is a real place. it's named for the name of the ship that actually discovered it, right? And they're going on this expedition to uncharted regions in Antarctica. So no one's ever like been to the region that they're heading, and they hope to find, anything. It's a scientific expedition. All right. So notable characters to mention. There's also Lake, right? So Lake is a leader of part of the expedition, and there's also Danforth, who is a student that's also tagging along. But there's other people involved, but those are the main names that you need to know, right? So the first thing that they basically discover that is unique or interesting are these. Let me move my images so we can get it flowing. The first thing that they basically discover that's unique or interesting are these strange markings in Precambrian slate. Now, these markings are very, very bizarre because they look like they were left by something intelligent, but they're Precambrian. So think about that. Precambrian. We're talking about 500 million years old. And there are these markings that look like writing. 500 million years old. That predates all of humanity. That predates any civilization ever by a very, 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 very long time. Humans have only been around max a million years. And, so they take it all the way down to 100,000 years sometimes. Maximum a million years. These things are 500 years old. All right? So just let that sink in. So Lake is like, okay, we're obviously on the right track. We found something really interesting. We've got to continue this expedition. So Lake takes a team further northwest, I believe they go. They go further northwest. So he takes a team, and Dyer and Danforth are kind of left behind, right? With the rest of the people. So eventually, while they're waiting there, they don't have any contact with Lake's team for a while. And then they get a message. They've encountered these mountains, these bizarre mountains that basically surpass the height of any mountains ever seen anywhere. They're taller than Mount Everest. There's no mountain range taller. It's an unseen, unheard of mountain range, right? And I got a quote pulled up that kind of describes like how big it is and how like crazy it is. All right, I've got two quotes actually that refer to the mountains themselves. So right, this is them relaying back the message to Danforth's team further south. All right. So this is what they say: mountains surpass anything in imagination. I'm going up scouting in Carroll's Plain with all the weight out. You can't imagine anything like this. Highest peaks must go over 35,000 feet. Everest is out of the running. Atwood to work out the height with the theodolite, while Carroll and I go up. Probably wrong about cones, for formations look stratified. Possibly Precambrian slate with other strata mixed in. That was another thing. They found like these spires that had these rounded blocks on them that totally looked like they totally appeared as though they were constructed by something not only intelligent but advanced. And these things are 500 million years old, right? Precambrian slate. All right. So possibly Precambrian slate with other strata mixed in. Queer skyline effects, regular sections of cubes clinging to the highest peaks while whole thing marvelous in red gold light of low sun, like a land of mystery in a dream, or a gateway to a forbidden world of untrodden wonder. Right? So that's how Lake describes these mountains of madness, right, as he's driving by them. And I have another quote of a description of the mountains of madness, and I'm pretty sure this is Danforth's description, but I could be wrong, so I'm going to read this one as well, because this one gives like another vibe of how like they kind of feel, because this isn't, there is the sense when flying over these mountains that you are crossing a threshold and to a different realm. You are moving beyond the realm of what we know. We're moving beyond the domain of humanity. All right. So here's another quote about the Mountains of Madness before we move on. I could not help feeling that they were evil things, mountains of madness, whose farther slopes looked out over some accursed ultimate abyss. That seething, half-luminous cloud background held ineffable suggestions of vague, ethereal beyondness, far more than terrestrially spatial, and gave appalling reminders of the utter remoteness, separateness, desolation, and eon-long death of this untrodden and unfathomed astral world. So yeah, when we're crossing over these mountains, these aren't normal mountains, right? There's an aura to these mountains. There's this strange, otherworldly presence. We are crossing a threshold into a different realm that is beyond us. All right. So that's the Mountains of Madness. So we first hear that they've passed these mountains, and then, of course, Lake's team continues to explore, and they find, they're drilling into the earth, and they find this huge subterranean system of caves. There's this huge subterranean system underground. But that's not the most interesting thing that they uncover. They also uncover bodies. There are bodies frozen beneath the earth. 500 million years old, at least. And these aren't like anything they've ever seen. These are monstrous entities that seem to have a completely different evolutionary track than anything else on Earth. They have no idea what these things are. No idea. All right. So let me just get to the specimens. Okay. Yeah, so these things kind of have like starfish heads and like these tentacly bodies. And there's, I think, 13 of them or 12 of them or something like that. There's like 13 or 12 of them or something like that, right? And they're all like frozen and they appear to be dead. So they take these things out, they begin to study them and dissect them. But then eventually something goes. Also, it's important to mention the dogs, for whatever reason, do not like these things. The dogs hate these things, right? Just okay. For whatever reason, the dogs really, really don't like these things. They're like, these things are bad news. We should like get rid of these things. I don't know. The dogs really, really don't like them. And basically, Danforth and Dyer are hearing all of this. They're being relayed all this information from a different place, right? They're not seeing all of this take place. But eventually, something does go wrong. Something goes wrong. They were dissecting these things and finding all of their weird organs and weird body parts that no one understands. So they're like, these things are, I don't know, they're bizarre. They're not like anything else found on Earth. But eventually something goes wrong, right? And Danforth and Dyer basically stop hearing from Lake's team. They stop hearing from them. So obviously that indicates that something has gone amiss. Okay. Obviously that indicates that something has gone amiss. Fast forwarding a little bit. They do eventually uncover what became of the camp. And it is extremely bizarre. And it doesn't make any sense. Because what has happened is that it seems like the scientist, the dissectors have become the dissected. And also, some of these frozen bodies have vanished. Where have they gone? So let me just work you through what has happened. They were dissecting these creatures, and at some point, the creatures woke up and dissected them. Does that make sense to you guys? So let me explain what's happened, right? Because there's a few ways to look at this scene, and there's a few ways that people are going to see this. Like, oh, scary monsters woke up and then killed everybody. It's not what happened. Intelligent entities were frozen. I don't know, either by their own will or something happened and they got frozen. I don't know. They woke up. They see that they're being dissected by freakish monsters, and they defend themselves against these freakish monsters. And being the intelligent beings they are, they're like, what are these monsters that we've never seen before? Because these guys have been frozen for, like, I don't know, hundreds of millions of years, so they've never seen a human before. So they've got to do their own experiments, and they start dissecting us. So that's what Danforth and Dyer's team discover. This bizarre scene where it's like, I don't know, everyone's dead. I think the dogs are dead, but there is a man and a dog missing. Like there's some people that are missing, right? But yeah, this is the scene they uncover, and they don't know what to make of it. And all they can think of is like, I don't know, we gotta go further north. We gotta go further north. So they continue the expedition. And what they find deeper north, beyond the Mountains of Madness, basically brings all the puzzle pieces together. And it explains basically what's going on here. And it is a wild ride, right? So this is Lovecraft at his best. This story is so good, right? So we're just at the beginning. This is just the beginning. This is the setup for like the even more like awesome stuff that happens like later, right? So yeah, Lake's team decimated. Poor Lake's team. They're all dead mostly. These guys woke up, dissected them, whatever. So they continue their expedition. You can see like in this art, I love this piece here because you can see like their little plane right here. And then the moving beyond the Mountains of Madness to uncover this. This immense, wait, how do I reset it? Well, I've ruined it. Anyway, they uncovered this immense Cyclopean city. Ancient. Predating anything. This was not built by men. This was not built by mankind. There's no way. We were not here. This is a city beyond, more ancient than anything we can imagine. More ancient than anything we can imagine. And it's here in Antarctica. So here's the point of this story. Let me explain something, right? What makes this story so scary to people, right, is that, and I think what made it so scary at the time it came out is because like the world wasn't completely explored just then. Like I said, the world was not completely explored. We didn't have satellites covering every corner of the planet. So the idea that there could be this huge city in Antarctica hidden was plausible. You know what I mean? It's a plausible idea. And also we have this idea that like, you know, we've dominated everything, that we're the first species to ever conquer the planet. You know what I mean? That we're the dominant ones. The earth is ours. This story turns that on its head. And it's like, you're not the first ones that have been here. You're not the first ones who have dominated the earth. So they find this huge city and they basically start exploring it. They start exploring the city and they find a lot of very strange things. So I got a few images of this beautiful Behringer art. And the city was also constructed through very bizarre methods. They have no idea how the city was constructed. The beings that built this city were more advanced than anything of Lovecraft's time and more advanced than anything of our time, right? So whoever built it, they were far more advanced than we ever were. And somehow they're not here. This is the ruins of a city, right? So let that sink in. They were more advanced than us. And yet, here are the ruins of their civilization. So what happened? So this is where it gets really interesting. what happened to this race of beings that were on Earth before we were. What happened to them, right? And I have a quote that describes them entering the city, and I think it's pretty freaking cool. All right. Here, on a hellishly ancient table land full. Wait, let me start over. Here, on a hellishly ancient tableland fully 20,000 feet high, in a climate deadly to habitation since a pre-hum... on a... Wait, let me start over. I'm screwing it up. I'm sorry. Here, on a hellishly ancient tableland fully 20,000 feet high, and in a climate deadly to habitation since a pre-human age, not less than 500,000 years ago, there stretched nearly to the vision's limit a tangle of orderly stone which only the desperation of mental self-defense could possibly attribute to any but a conscious and artificial cause, right? So they're just remarking on like this like huge city that is like way older than like anything we could have built. And also it mentions here that the climate in Antarctica is deadly, but maybe at some point in time, maybe it wasn't. Antarctica apparently used to be more warm. All right. And there actually is evidence that Antarctica was much warmer and had a more moderate tropical climate at some point in time. And that was when like the city was constructed, supposedly. So it wasn't frozen over at that point in time. It became frozen over. All right. So huge city in the middle of Antarctica. They're like, what the heck? But like, what is it? Who built it? So there's some questions here. Here are the questions, right? Who built this city? Where did they come from? Where did they go? And is this related to those things that woke up beneath the earth and killed Lake's team, right? It almost certainly has to be, right? I mean, there's obvious correlation there. Don't tell me Quinn is into ancient alien BS. Only when it comes to fiction. You know, only when it comes to fiction. This is all fiction, guys. It's all fiction. All right. So as they venture into this city, right, they discover that like all over the walls everywhere are like there's all these statues of what appear to be these those creatures, the elder those not I'm getting ahead of my house. Those creatures that woke up underneath the earth. There's all these statues of them. And there's also hieroglyphs everywhere. And the hieroglyphs, that's the most important part, right? Because these hieroglyphs describe the secret history of the world. The secret history of the world, right? So let's get into it. Those things that woke up beneath the earth and killed Lake's team and dissected everybody, those were the elder things. And they came to Earth a long, long time ago. All right. So we got a few quotes pulled up that I want to read. Okay. Here we go. The things once rearing and dwelling in this frightful masonry in the age of dinosaurs were not indeed dinosaurs, but far worse. Mere dinosaurs were new and almost brainless objects, but the builders of the city were wise and old, and had left certain traces in the rocks, even then laid down well nigh 1,000 million years, rocks laid down before the true life of Earth had advanced beyond plastic groups of cells, rocks laid down before the true life of Earth had existed at all. They were the makers and the enslavers of that life, and above all doubt the original of the fiendish elder myths, which things like, I can't say that word, the Naconic, Lovecraft is like with the crazy words, it's crazy. The Naconic manuscripts and the Necronomicon affrightedly hint about. So that's another fact about Dyer, right? This geologist Dyer. He has encountered the Necronomicon, right? So let's take a little breather, right, before we get into all of this. The Necronomicon is this book that was written by the mad author Abdul Azred, something like that, I think is his name, right? He was mad, and he wrote this book in a trance, right? And this book has all of these depictions of like the old ones and spells about how to summon them, because like the old ones, these beings came to Earth a long, long time ago, but something about the alignment of the stars like trapped the most powerful of them like beneath the ocean, like Cthulhu, right? But that doesn't mean that they couldn't still communicate, and they whispered through psionic energy. They whispered psionically to humans, right? And that is how people knew about like the ancient ones, the old ones, because these beings communicated somehow through whisperings, because their language, their essential language, their essential being is thought. Their language is a language of thought, right? And Dyer knew about the Necronomicon. He had encountered it. And this whole book, he's mentioning the Necronomicon. He's like, that reminds me of this from the Necronomicon. That reminds me of that from the Necronomicon. Because the thing about all of this, right? Like, within Lovecraft's universe, everything that we know about the old ones is it comes from like scribblings that people have written down from like dreams and like little fragments of data. But this is all stuff that's been pieced together by, like small-minded humans. So the actual truth of it all like kind of gets clouded. But we're going to try and work out some of that here, because it's clear when you really work it all out that these old ones, these elder things, weren't God. They were not divine. They were advanced and highly intelligent civilizations of people that not only, you know, they went through the same cycles as us, and they warred with each other, and they fell, like we did. There's a lot that we don't understand, because it's like they always say, sufficiently advanced technology appears like magic. You know what I mean? The people that were receiving these dreams about the old ones and writing it down didn't understand technology, so it's magic to them. But is it really, really magic? So we'll get to that. Let me keep reading this quote. They were the great old ones that had filtered down from the stars when Earth was young, the beings whose substance and alien evolution had shaped, and whose powers were such that this planet had never bred. All right? So that's what's going on here. This city was built by the elder things, the great old ones. Now, the great old ones refers to a host of different beings in Lovecraft's universe. Beings of varying power and ability, right? So these elder things were a specific race of old ones. And actually, as we get further into this, it actually does mention in this book that these specific elder things, they started off in the ocean, and they actually warred with the pre-human spawn of Cthulhu. So these beings actually went to war with Cthulhu. Right? So that's really, really interesting. Because Lovecraft, of course, has that connected universe that a lot of people try and like do nowadays. He had that connected universe. Although his was very loosely connected, but it's something that existed. All right. All right. So yeah, these elder things, they built this city. They came to Earth from distant regions in outer space, right? And they had all sorts of technology. It mentions that they had like energy weapons that they used in the war with the pre-human spawn of Cthulhu. They had these energy weapons that they had, and they also had like a host of biological technology. It mentions that they bred saurians, and I guess that means dinosaurs, that these elder things were literally breeding dinosaurs like cattle or something. And yeah, biological technology is big though, because through use of biological technology, they were able to create Shoggoths. And Shoggoths are extremely important to this story, and we'll get to that. But Shoggoths were basically these creatures that could kind of be genetically programmed for whatever purpose that the elder things wanted. So they were like these huge, like bubbling masses of tentacles and just like gross, right? But they could do whatever, like they were a slave class of beings that the elder things invented. And at some point, Dyer and Danforth actually encounter a Shoggoth that's left over from that time. And this is how they describe this entity. All right. I got a little quote here. It was a terrible. It's funny because it says it was a terrible, indescribable, and I'm like, this is how they describe it. They describe it as indescribable, but yeah, it's funny. It was a terrible, indescribable thing, vaster than a subway train, a shapeless congeries of protoplasmic bubbles, faintly self-luminous, and with myriads of temporary eyes forming and unforming, as postulates of greenish light filling all over the tunnel filling front that bore down upon us, crushing the frantic penguins and slithering over the glistening floor that it and its kind had swept so evilly free of all litter. Right? So it's like this bubbling mass, it's like rolling around. And I actually have a picture of it. Oh, let's not get to that yet. I think I put it in the wrong place. So that's what this Shoggoth kind of looks like. Yeah. I forgot to keep moving my pictures. That was my fault. So yeah, these are the Elder Things. And like I said, they came from some distant region in space, and they had all of this technology, like energy guns, energy weapons, biological technology. They invented the Shoggoths as a slave class. They warred with the pre-human spawn of Cthulhu. But something they became even more advanced on Earth. It seems like Earth was a good place for them because they built this huge city. They became super advanced. They seem to have survived the war with the pre-human spawn of Cthulhu, right? And this was, of course, at a time where Antarctica was a lot warmer, apparently, in this story. Antarctica was a lot warmer, so they could survive here. It was a paradise for them. But something happened. And somehow we're to the point now where, like, hundreds of millions of years later, we have the ruins of their once great city. So what happened? What happened? What happened to the Elder Things? And the story of what became of them is told in hieroglyphs. And the interesting thing about these hieroglyphs is that as they read on and get further and further down the history, the hieroglyphs become more and more crude. So it's almost like you can see how civilization declined more and more and more and more, and you can measure it by the crudeness of the hieroglyphs. All right. So there's actually a quote here about, before we get into like what happened to them, there's actually a quote here about the Elder Things, right? Because the book mentions that they did all these experiments, right? And they were like creating like hybrid creatures and like enslaving the Shoggoths and doing like really like messed up things with life and just kind of being careless with the creation of life, which is, by the way, a theme in Prometheus as well. So they're kind of being careless with the creation of life. But Lovecraft makes a direct comparison between the Elder Things and us because, like I said, even though like people in this universe like are saying like the old ones and the ancient gods, they're not actually gods, right? They're just intelligent beings, right? So it says here, poor old ones, scientists to the last, what had they done that we would not have done in their place? God, what intelligence and persistence, what a facing of the incredible, just as those carven kinsmen and forebears had faced things only a little less incredible. Radiates, vegetables, monstrosities, star spawn, whatever they had been, they were men, right? So he makes that direct comparison. He's saying that they were basically just like us. They became very advanced. They built things. They had technology, and still something took them out. They're just like us. So he makes that direct comparison. All right. So now let's get into what is actually on these hieroglyphs and how these hieroglyphs describe what happened to the Elder Things. And it's a tale as old as time, basically. So I'm going to read this quote first, and then we're going to talk about it. Okay, I haven't read this one out loud first. Haven't read this one out loud yet, and Lovecraft stumbles me up with just like his writing style. So there might be some stops in this one. This is a longer quote. Okay, let's get to what's on the hieroglyphs. Myth or otherwise, the sculptures told of the coming of those star-headed things to the nascent, lifeless earth out of cosmic space. Their coming and the coming of many other alien entities, such as, at certain times, embark upon spatial pioneering. They seemed able to traverse the interstellar ether on their vast, membranous wings, thus oddly confirming some curious hill folklore long ago told me by an antiquarian colleague. So he's saying that apparently these things could fly through outer space with their wings, right? Let's talk about that for a second before we move on. So, again, this is being, relayed through a human mind. And actually, in this particular book right here, the Behringer art book that has the whole story and stuff, the illustrated book, he draws this sequence with them coming through outer space in a very interesting way. And I can't show the whole thing here, I couldn't find it. But what it looks like to me is they're coming out of a portal. Yes, they've got wings, but they're not flying across the vacuum of space, literally. They're coming through a portal. They've opened some opening in space-time, and that's how they came here to begin with. And if you think of it that way, it makes so much make sense. Because in the Call of Cthulhu, Lovecraft says that the old ones were bound by the position of the stars. They were bound by the position of the stars, and when the stars were right, they could move around freely. It's like an interstellar like highway system or something. They opened some kind of rift in space time, and that's how they got through. That's how they got here. They didn't literally fly across. At least that's what I think. All right. Let's continue. They had lived under the sea a good deal, building fantastic cities and fighting terrific battles with the nameless adversaries by means of intricate devices employing unknown principles of energy. So that's when we get to they had advanced technology, right? Advanced technology. Evidently, their scientific and mechanical knowledge far surpassed man's today, though they made use of its more widespread and elaborate forms only when obliged to. Some of the sculptures suggested that they had passed through a stage of mechanized life on other planets, but had receded upon finding its effects emotionally unsatisfying. So that's very interesting. So he says here that at some point in their journey throughout the cosmos, like Earth definitely isn't their first stop, but we will get into why they came to Earth. And, isn't that a question? Like, why are all the old ones on Earth? Why is everybody here? But anyway, he says that there's evidence that at some point they had evolved to become more mechanical, like more, like transhumanism. Like they say, like eventually humans were going to start replacing body parts with like mechanical parts and augmenting ourselves. But it says they found this form of life as just like unsatisfying for some reason. This mechanized form of life is unsatisfying. So they came to Earth for whatever reason. Okay, so where was I? Where was I? Passed through a stage of mechanized life, found the effects emotionally unsatisfying. Okay. Their preternatural toughness of organization and simplicity of natural wants made them peculiarly able to live on a high plane without the more specialized fruits of artificial manufacture, and even without garments except for occasional protection against the elements. It was under the sea, at first for food and later for other purposes, that they first created earth life, using available substances according to long-known methods. The more elaborate experiments came after the annihilation of various cosmic entities. They had done the same thing on other planets, having manufactured not only necessary foods, but multicellular protoplasmic masses capable of molding their tissue and all sorts of temporary organs under hypnotic influence, and thereby forming ideal slaves to perform the heavy work of the community. So that is a reference to the shogus that they create, right? But I don't know if you guys are paying attention. Think about what's being said here. These things, I'm gonna read the first sentence of this again, right? The sculptures told of the coming of those star-headed things to the nascent, lifeless Earth out of cosmic space. The nascent, lifeless Earth. And it says here, it was under the sea at first for food, and later for other purposes, that they first created Earth life. Life on Earth is the result of just the byproduct of these things just manufacturing biological life just so they could survive. Life on Earth is an accident. Everything is an accident. We are the biological byproduct of the shogus, the slave class of the elder things. Everything on life, right? And a lot of people, because this story is freaky, right? Because a lot of people have this idea that humanity was made for a purpose. We were made in God's image. And it's funny because Lovecraft takes that idea, right? He's like, yeah, you were kind of made in God's image, but you were just kind of like a byproduct of like a god, an elder thing. That was just, you weren't even thought about. All life on Earth literally formed from a biological byproduct of the workings of the Shoggoth. We literally came out of like this disgusting ooze of this terrible creature, this terrible nightmare creature, right? So yeah, so there we go. All right, so let's continue. Okay, these viscous masses were without doubt what Abdul Alhazred whispered about as the Shoggoths in his frightful nightmare, the Necronomicon. Though even that mad Arab had not hinted that any existed on earth except in the dreams of those who had chewed a certain kind of alkaloidal herb. When the star-headed old ones on this planet had synthesized their simple food forms and bred a good supply of shoggoths, they allowed other cell groups to develop into other forms of animal and vegetation, life for sundry purposes. All right. And it says they killed anything that became troublesome. So apparently they also like made stuff and then killed it, right? So yeah, they created life on Earth just basically to serve them. But then still, that doesn't explain what became of the elder things themselves. Right? They got super advanced. They created life on Earth to basically serve them, and yet their cities still fell into ruins. The vast majority of them are dead. So what happened? I'm going to tell you what happened. So basically, as I said, these hieroglyphs become cruder, more and more crude as time goes on. And the reason they become more crude is because society was falling apart. What became of the elder things is quite simply the Shoggoths, the intelligent slave class that they had built to serve them, rose up. They rose up and they fought back. And this led to the fall of the civilization of the elder things. That's basically the gist of it. They led to the fall of their uprising led to the fall of their civilization. So basically the story is, I think that Lovecraft is pointing out, as I said before, that the elder things, like humanity, becomes very comfortable and arrogant. We build all of this stuff, we advanced our technology, we expand, but still, like, karma comes to bite us in the ass. I don't know. It's like, okay, like I said before, they were being careless with their technology. They were being careless with the production of life, and their hubris got the better of them. I don't think the Elder Things thought that they could ever be undone by their own creation, and yet they were. Yet they were. And I think that's too. Well, I know that's one of the essential things that the movie Prometheus takes from this story as well, right? Because you have lag out. Did we lag out? Oh no. All right, I think we're back. All right, I think we're back. Okay. I think we're back. I don't know what happened. Where was I? Where was I? I don't even know where I was. Ah! Okay, we're back though. I don't know where I was. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Where was I? I was saying. I hope. Did you guys hear me say the whole thing about what happened with the Shagas? Oh, YouTube problems. So we were talking about Prometheus. All right. So yeah. So this, I think that is the key idea that Prometheus borrows from this story, right? Is the idea that we become advanced like the engineers, and they develop this hubris, and they become careless with their technology, and specifically they become careless with the creation of life. Life is not something that you just play around with carelessly. You don't just like carelessly invent sentient creatures, right? And so in Prometheus, of course, the engineers are destroyed by their own biological weapon. And that is very, very similar to what happens here. The Elder Things are destroyed by this biological life form that they've created, right? And I think that this story is important right now because we are getting to the point where we're going to be able to make artificial life. Like it's going to happen. We are going to be able to make something that is sentient. I don't know, like through like genetic manipulation or through AI, it's going to happen eventually, and that is something that we should not play around with. We should not toy around with that. We should not become like the Elder Things, right? You know, what I mean, we don't need a slave class of sentient beings. You know what I mean? I think about um, Star Trek. You know what I mean, with the character Data and how like that they have that whole episode Measure of a Man, where this guy is trying to make like all at that point because, like I said, all of this is perspective of Danforth, right? And he's trying to stop another mission that's about to happen. Now, why is he so adamant? Do not send anybody else here. Do not do it. Why is he so adamant? Well, for one, there's things that are alive still there, right? There's Shoggoths still there. Those Elder Things have woken up. They're still there. But there is something else. There's something else there. Something that might be more terrible than anything else. So, oh no. Did my stream stop again? No, 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 no. It's still here. It's still here. It's still here. It's still here. My thing was just messing up. All right, there's something more terrible there, right? And we see it at right at the end when they're flying away. So Danforth and Dyer escape. They escape the city. They're flying away. But Danforth looks back. He looks back. And what he sees breaks his mind. The horror of it, the confusion of it. He doesn't understand it, and it kind of breaks his mind. And Danforth kind of just goes to crap. I keep reading that the audio's messed up, that things are messed up. Is everything good? Because I seriously can't tell. I can't tell. Okay, anyway. I just got to keep going. I'm just going to do a check. Is my audio and sound good right now? Audio is blinking on and off. Right now, good. Everything's good. Audio is good. Everything is good at the moment, but it keeps lagging and cutting out every now and again. I have no idea why it's doing that. Like, seriously. It's probably like a stupid Windows update happening right now. It's really annoying. I have no idea. I thought I paid for good internet. I don't know. I hope it's not too like unwatchable, but let's like continue. Let's continue. So let's get to like what was actually at the in the freaking mountain, right? So it doesn't actually totally fully describe it, right? But I've always thought that he looked back into. Okay, let me back up a little bit, right? So in Stephen King's Macaverse, Stephen King likes to play with the same Lovecraftian ideas. Yeah, from thought. If I'm choppy, I think it's just you. Like Stephen King likes to play with some Lovecraftian ideas, right? And in his universe, if you look into the macroverse, you lose your mind. Your hair turns white and you kind of go crazy. You like lose it because you've been exposed to cosmic madness. You've been exposed to cosmic madness. Ah, well, is John trying? Is am I no chop here? Okay, look. God, it's so confusing. Am I choppy or not? Or are you just trolling me? Anyway, yeah, everyone just refresh your page if it's choppy. If it's choppy, please refresh your page. All right, I'm going to stop looking at the comments now. Just finish this so we can get to the end of it. Anyway, I think that what Danforth looked into was the portal through which the Elder Things came through. It's still open somehow, right? It's still open somehow, and I think it was the portal through which the Elder Things came through. And actually, in this book, the way Berenger draws it, it makes it look like he's looking into the portal. So I feel like that totally explains what happened. I feel like that totally explains what happened. He looked into the portal. He looked into realms beyond his comprehension, and it broke his mind. He couldn't understand what he was seeing, and that broke his mind. So the reason that Danforth is so adamant throughout the entire story, don't do this, don't go back, don't send another expedition, is because there are creatures that are alive here. The elder things have woken back up, and maybe they were the ones that opened the portal there then. Maybe it wasn't there before and it just got there and they opened it back up somehow. So it's like, let's not poke this bear, right? And that's basically Lovecraft's main thing that he talks about in like a lot of his stories. It's the idea that like maybe not knowing is better. It's the idea that maybe not looking into this abyss is better. The Call of Cthulhu basically opens up with the same idea. It says something like there are certain vistas that we should not traverse, right? And in the Call of Cthulhu, you have a very similar idea where this character is exposed to this hidden knowledge that he was not supposed to be exposed to, and it basically ruins his life. And then it kind of destroys you. Like like not knowing is better is the essential idea. All right, we got through the ending. Let's. I hope it wasn't super choppy, but that's the gist of At the Mountains of Madness, and you can see why that's one of my favorite stories because it's got all of those like key Lovecraft things. It's got the mystery. It's got the horror. It's like playing around with the secret history of the world. Um, and I just love it. It's got all the great bits of lore about the great old ones, and I feel like this one actually has like way more. This is one of the stories with I feel like the most details about the great old ones and who they were and like the types of things that they were doing. This definitely makes them seem more human-like than anything in Call of Cthulhu because in Call of Cthulhu it's all very mysterious, right? It's all very mysterious and freaky, and Cthulhu is a being that's so far beyond our comprehension. It's like not even he seems like beyond us. But here, the old ones seem very grounded, and we see that these elder things fought with Cthulhu's pre-human spawn and like yada 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 and all that stuff. So that's like it grounds them a lot more, and I really like this story for that. And I just love the way I love the way the story unfolds. I love the way it unfolds itself. I think it's very, very well done. And I feel like it's probably his best story. And I highly, highly, highly recommend reading it in these huge Behringer At the Mountains of Madness fully illustrated books because, like, this is not a sponsor, by the way. But yeah, like, these are freaking great. It really just makes the story come alive. And every page, every single page has like a full page art. Like they're totally worth it, and there's two of them. So yeah, so yeah, there are totally 500 people watching now. We got super high before we started having the choppy audio issues. But please, please, if you're watching, hit the like button. Hit the like button. We're gonna keep going and talk about some more Lovecraft stuff. Maybe read some more quotes. But right now, I got to get to the super chats that happened during the stream. Thank you, Pamela Dale, for your super chat. Andrew Bat says, "What's a good Lovecraft book to start with?" This one, this one. This is the perfect one. Only been in rehab for 1 day, and I already took 3 steps unaided today. The physical therapy guy says I'm kicking ass, and I want to reward myself. That is freaking awesome. But yeah, I think this is a great one. Or Call of Cthulhu is a really great one to like start off with. Thank you, Carter Bing, for becoming a member. Marvin Martin says, "Why such an interest in our significant planet?" Oh, I forgot to go over that. Thank you for reminding me of that. What do you think was the great, terrible thing witnessed at the end of the story? Okay, we went over that. But why Earth? Why Earth? All these guys, the great old ones, Cthulhu, the elder things. Why Earth? Why Earth? And it mentions too that Earth was lifeless. Earth was totally lifeless. There was nothing here. So why this specific planet? Was there a reason for this specific planet? I tend to say yes, because like the universe is so big, why would multiple races of old ones be fighting for Earth, right? I think there's something special about Earth. I think there is something special about Earth, right? And the first hit that there's something special about Earth is in Call of Cthulhu, when it mentions that R'lyeh, this ancient city that Cthulhu had built, sunk beneath the waves. It sunk beneath the waves. And when it sunk beneath the waves, the old ones who were asleep in R'lyeh, their communication with humanity was cut off, right? So from R'lyeh, when it was still above Earth, they could whisper to ancient humans. And that's how all these stories and things got written down. But once R'lyeh sank and the old ones sank beneath the Earth, it was cut off. The book specifically says that something about the primordial mystery of the ocean cut off the spectral intercourse, right? So there's something special about Earth. And from what I'm gathering, I think that Earth is kind of like this weird nexus of psionic energy. They really, really want it. I don't know if it makes them more powerful. It makes what their tech more powerful or their spells more powerful, but I think that's what it is. Because as I said, the language of the old ones, or at least Cthulhu and his beings, their language was a language of thought. They communicated through a language of thought, right? And I think that maybe somehow Earth maybe like magnifies that, and something about the ocean can like block it. Because I think like what is strong enough to block like their spectral intercourse if it's not like, I don't know, maybe it's not specifically the Earth. Maybe it's like this region in space at this particular time, you know what I mean? Because like cosmic alignment is supposedly very, very important to like all of these great old ones and stuff like that. But yeah, I think there was something special about the Earth. I think it was like some kind of nexus of thought energy, and that's why everyone was fighting over it. And it also mentions too that Cthulhu is called at some point. He's called like a priest or sorcerer or a wizard or something like that in the Call of Cthulhu, and it does talk a lot about like him doing like spells, right? So, like I said, wizards, spells, all of this is through like the interpretation of people that are like hearing this in dreams and hearing the whisperings of these old ones and trying to interpret it. But I don't know. Maybe it had something to do with, I don't know, the psionic energy of the Earth, and he was obviously doing things that were causing some kind of change and effect on like the universe, the cosmos, and all of it. So it's incomprehensible. It's like beyond our comprehension. But I feel like that's what it's related to, if I had to guess. And maybe there's more hints in other works of Lovecraft that can kind of bring this theory together more. But from what I've gathered, I think that's basically what's going on. I think that's basically what's going on. Earth is like some weird nexus of cosmic energy, and that's why they're here, because they're all like fighting over the Earth like it's special. And Cthulhu, according to the Call of Cthulhu, is like still here beneath the ocean, just like waiting for the right time to come out. Yeah, maybe he's waiting for the Nexus to like regather itself. Maybe he's waiting for the Earth and the solar system and the sun to move back into the region of space when he was the most powerful. It could be any number of those things. But yeah, that's I think that's really fun stuff to explore. All right, so thank you, Alt Grindle, for your super chat. And M. Vital says, "You're great. Have you watched Colorado Space with Nick Cage? I was lucky to be in the theater when it dropped. Only two showings in one theater. A lot of people really like this movie. I did not like it as much as some people, but I get why people really like this one. I feel like it's got a lot of that Nick Cage weirdness, but for me, it doesn't really like feel like a Lovecraft story. And I would love to see another version of that done, maybe in like a short mini series that's more true to the feeling of the story, because I think the story is very like it's like this slow story about this detective that's like investigating everything after the fact, and I think that's more effective. It's more it would feel more like a Lovecraft story if it was done like that, and it wasn't just about like Nick Cage and his like weird family and the alpacas and stuff like that. But I get why people liked that one. So before we move on, I gotta say, I gotta say, my graphic novel, The Lie Behind the Star, has 2 weeks to go on Indiegogo. We've got 2 weeks going, and we're already like, we've done really well on Indiegogo. You can check it out, link below. We're totally funded, but if you want to reserve a copy of the graphic novel, check it out on Indiegogo. Click the link in the description. Means the world to me if you do. Check out the different tiers that we have: ebook, audiobook, paperback, several different hardcover ones. Like this is just the main hardcover that's got the wraparound cover. So yeah, check that out. Link in the description. Really appreciate it. Yeah, just thought I'd mention it in the stream. Thank you guys so much. Just saying, I don't really do like sponsors on this channel or anything. Don't do sponsors like a lot of channels do. Like a three, like I get emails all the time. I'm like, oh, do like a sponsor. You gotta put like this 3-minute ad in your video. I would rather not do that. So if you want to support the channel, please, 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 please consider backing the campaign. And thank you so much. All right. Thank you for your super chat, Dasco Bra. Thank you very much. So has anybody got any more like questions or like theories or cool thoughts about At the Mountains of Madness? Is there anything that I missed that you want me to talk about? Or just any Lovecraft story in general? Is there anything that I missed that you guys would like me to talk about? I am looking at the chat. Looking at the chat. Someone says the art is great and the story sounds pretty unique. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Check it out. Link in the description. Dream Quest. So Dream Quest is an interesting story. That's Randolph Carter, who's a character that appears in a lot of Lovecraft stuff, and I think this story was inspirational for a lot of stuff. I can even see like a little bit of it in Neil Gaiman's Sandman. It's about this guy's journey through like this weird dream realm, and it ends with him encountering Azathoth at the center of the universe, and Nyarlathotep is a big part of it. Nyarlathotep is like the king in yellow. And what's interesting about Nyarlathotep is that he's basically the only old one in Lovecraft's mythos that is constantly getting involved in the affairs of humans, and he takes many different forms, and he's a cool guy. He's not a cool guy. He definitely tries to screw you over any turn. It's an interesting figure that appears in Lovecraft's universe. So yeah, the Dream Quest of Unknown Kadath is about this guy's journey through like the dream realm, and it's very like cerebral and weird and abstract. And at some point, he gets screwed over by Nyarlathotep, who he thinks is going to help him, but Nyarlathotep is like really trying to send him to the center of the universe so that Azathoth can like feed upon him. So, but yeah, it's a good story. I might have to do like maybe a video. I feel like I've talked about that one before, and like an older live stream. I feel like we broke down that one. But yeah, that's definitely like a cool one that not a lot of people have actually heard of. Okay, Quinn's ideas. I really was into random sci-fi stories in Space Age, interpersonal relationships of Star Trek Next Generation. Any other thing like that? A lot of people really like Firefly, Battlestar Galactica. You know, are you done with all of Star Trek? Because if you're not, then Deep Space Nine is great. You know, to move on to, and then even Voyager. I think once it gets past the growing pains of like the first four seasons, Deep Space Nine. I mean, Voyager is good too. Another super chat. There's a TikTok out there that compares the great old ones to people as ants to people. Yeah, it makes sense. I feel like it's a good comparison. That's kind of why in the three body problem universe, Shishin Lu uses the metaphor of the ant as well. Someone says, "Would you consider At the Mountains of Madness to be the most disturbing Lovecraft work? If not, what story would you consider to be as such?" Um, I don't find At the Mountains of Madness as disturbing as some other ones because I feel like this one's just more fun for me because it's true science fiction, so it's like I don't know, it's fun for me. I think that Call of Cthulhu is honestly a little bit more disturbing. Rats in the Wall is a freaky one. The Dunwich Horror, everyone talks about that one. That one's freakish. Shadow over Innsmouth is very disturbing. So yeah, those I think all of those are probably more disturbing, but I like this one more. Everyone's saying Babylon 5 is better than Deep Space Nine. Someone says Deep Space Nine is the best Star Trek. I know a lot of people would rank Deep Space Nine very, 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 very high. Quinn, what do you think about Star Trek Discovery and Picard? I've tried twice with Star Trek Discovery, and I haven't gotten past the first season either try. But that doesn't mean I'm not gonna watch it. That's not shade. It's just like I gotta rewatch it again. And with Picard, I think I got like 6 episodes in, and yeah, I feel like when I was watching those, it was at a weird time in my life, and I kind of had to stop watching a bunch of stuff. But then I just gotta pick it back up. Gotta pick it back up. You know. Someone says, okay, so on my list now, Call of Cthulhu, Dunwich Horror, At the Mountains of Madness. Yes, read all three of those. And I totally recommend the Behringer At the Mountains of Madness, by the way. Totally recommend it. Someone says STD says it all. I think they market it as disco, right? Star Trek Discovery. Well, see, I don't. I guess I am getting like a little notification that says my connection is like weird, but whatever. We're just gonna ignore that right now. I have no idea why the connection is weird. As long as the audio is good, it's just the video that's choppy sometimes. But the audio music is good, right? Someone says your intro music. Where is it from? It is done by James Dahl. And yeah, James Dahl does the music, and that should be uploaded on his channel pretty soon. Should be uploaded on his channel pretty soon. Okay. Hmm. Someone says Dreams in the Witch House is also great. Yeah, that's a good one as well. That is definitely a good one. Uh, okay. Someone says Discovery has a few interesting ideas, but really, just read Stamets. The cooler stuff they kind of took from him. Well, the cool stuff to me, the new star drive and its connections. Interesting, interesting. Yeah, I think I'm just more into the episodic Star Trek. You know, I love Strange New Worlds. I've been watching that. Like that's the one that I've been enjoying the most out of like the newer Trek. The newer Trek. Someone Someone says, where can I find all of your book recommendations? Last time I asked. Well, anytime I do a video on the channel, it's a recommendation for the book, basically. I don't really do videos on books that I don't enjoy or don't recommend. But I probably should make a list, like a document or something, that people can click on and get to my recommendations. And I can put like some links in there to like the books. I probably should do that. So that's a good idea, is to just make it like a list that people can click on of like all of my recommendations. But yeah, like I was saying, like I really I don't cover anything that I'm not having fun with, right? That's why I couldn't finish the Foundation reviews, because it's like when I went through like Game of Thrones, it was just not, it's not fun to like do videos and like talk about how much you're not enjoying something, and then like have everybody else that like is blindly like loving it like dump all their hate on you because like you're being honest about the fact that you're not enjoying it. So I didn't want to go through the same thing with Foundation, so I just kind of like stopped covering it. And because I just really did not enjoy that first season, and I thought that, I don't know, I thought for a second that maybe it would be something that was more true to Asimov's vision and more true to like what Foundation is, but obviously they just kind of wanted to play around in the universe, and use the name Foundation to sell a show that was just like a random sci-fi show and really had nothing to do with Foundation. But I don't know, maybe it gets better in the second season. But yeah, I just did not want to go through Game of Thrones again with Foundation, so we had to not do that. I would rather just talk about stuff that I really, really enjoy. And right now, I'm really enjoying The Sparrow. The Sparrow is a great book that I'm enjoying now. Please don't spoil it because I'm not done with it. But The Sparrow is about. It's about so much. So you have these like priests that work for the Catholic Church, but they're also scientists, and they get a signal from outer space that has music. It's a signal from outer space that has music. It's singing voices of extraterrestrials. And so at the part where I'm at now, they're like deciding whether or not to go and find where these guys are coming from. Well, I actually already know that they went, because like in the beginning of the book it explains it's like it the whole story is like a flashback, kind of like in the beginning it explains that they went and something horrible happened, and we don't know what happened, but like they went, something horrible happened, and yeah, I'm in the process of finding out. But it's very, very good. I'm very, very much enjoying it. Someone says Heinlein had some strange ideas. Well, he was a stranger in a strange land. Starship Troopers. Um, I don't know. Starship Troopers. Everyone always gets mad when I talk about that one, so we're gonna skip that one. We're not gonna talk about Starship Troopers. Modern authors making good cosmic horror / weird science fiction. Okay, so Joe Hill, good stuff all around. Uh, I like some of, I don't know. I don't think Stephen King has done anything that was like super cosmic horror-y recently. A little bit fairy tale. So Stephen King, the guy who did the Area X trilogy. Let me find his name. That one's definitely like some weird cosmic Lovecraft stuff. So yeah, Jeff Vandermeer, Area X trilogy. Um, let's see, Junji Ito, Spiral of Horror, Uzumaki. That's a great modern Lovecraft story. Um, let's see what else. What else has a modern Lovecraft vibe? I don't know. I think those are some good ones. Junji Ito, The Area X, Jeff Vandermeer, and Joe Hill. Basically anything by Joe Hill, but I would recommend Lock and Key, the graphic novel, just because it's so good. And it's like, don't pay attention to the Netflix show though. It's not one of those things where you're gonna read the graphic novel, then you can also watch the show when it's gonna be good, because the show's just not good. But the graphic novel is great. It's great. And speaking of graphic novels, my graphic novel, link in the description. Literally, we got 2 weeks to go. And yeah, we got 2 weeks to go on this baby. I'm going to see what happens to it. I'm just going to pull it up real quick. Because we do got 2 weeks to go. I'm just going to... How do I do this? Oh, I'm so like dumb when it comes to technology. I swear to God, I like have a YouTube channel, but I'm like a technological dummy. Okay, and share. There we go. So there's the campaign. As you can see, we're 383% funded with 2 weeks to go. So that's very exciting to me. This is just in a couple of weeks. And this is all thanks to like the audience. Like that's why crowdfunding is great because I feel like it's teamwork, getting this done. So what's awesome about this is that the book is definitely going to get made because we've gotten to this point already. And you can check out the tiers, link in the description. There's signed copies, and then there's like limited edition stuff. There's all sorts of stuff. Check it out if you want to support the channel. It's there, link in the description. Very, very, very excited to get this story out. And there is an in-depth trailer too that explains exactly what the story is about. I think it's really interesting. And yeah, check it out. Check it out if you want to know more about it. Anyway. Okay. So how was everybody's holiday season so far? I know in America Thanksgiving just happened. So is everybody enjoying the holiday season? Do I plan on writing a book? Oh, do I plan on it? For sure. I'm already doing it. Already doing it. Someone says here before the live action adaptation. Yeah. Someone says travel was rough but fun overall. Well, that's great. Fan from Brazil. Hello, Andre. How's it going? Where's everyone from? I know that I totally have people on here that are from all over the world, which is super interesting. Like last night, we were streaming at like 2 a.m. because that's something I do. We're in California here, so it was 2 a.m. California time, and so we were streaming. I know most of you did not see that stream because it was ultra secret, and now it is unlisted. And if you didn't see it, you can't see it. So we randomly stream all the time. Australia, Denmark, wow, Washington State, Bay Area, Mexico, Uruguay, Germany, England, all over the place. Brazil, Niagara Falls, Delaware, a place I can't pronounce. Yeah, Iowa. Yeah, I definitely want to visit more countries. More countries over the next decade, right? I'm gonna turn 30 next year, which is like so weird to say. But like, yeah, I want to visit more countries over the next decade. Explore things. Buffalo, New York, Canada. The Czech Republic, that's interesting. South Louisiana. I've been to Louisiana a couple times. New Orleans. New Orleans has like some of the best food in all of America. All of America. And, I don't know. It's like I feel like yeah, the South has everybody else beat in America on food. I gotta say it. I've lived in California for like 4 years, going on 5 years now, and the South has everybody else in America beat as far as food comes. It's just superior. It's just superior. Like barbecue, like fried food. It's just like so much better. So much better. I have not had like good diner food since I've been in California. It needs a Waffle House. Like California, the west coast of the United States desperately needs a Waffle House, and it's very, very upsetting. uh, anyway, I bet some of you in other countries don't even know what Waffle House is. So yeah, it's just basically a crappy diner, but it's like good. Like in the South, it's like really good, and it just does not exist in on the west coast of America. Someone says that's a good thing about multicultural countries. They just absorb all the good parts of each culture. That's definitely true. That's definitely true. Now, America has its downsides, but like it is a very multicultural place. It's lots of different people living in lots of different ways, and that's the beauty of the country. And we need to protect that. We need to protect, everyone living their own way and everyone doing what makes them happiest. You know what I mean? And as long as it doesn't tread on somebody else, we gotta protect that. You know what I mean? There's all sorts of science fiction stories that deal with exactly what happens when we don't protect that, right? And then we just become neuromancer, where it's just kind of like, I don't know, like, because in neuromancer, there is this sense of like cultural loss because everything's just kind of been mixed together. It's been mixed together, which is not necessarily bad, but then it's been mixed together, watered down, and then commodified to like an extreme degree. And everything is down, and everything is just like super corporatized, and like everything's been commodified, so it kind of like sucks. And we need to not let that happen. But it's good to be like multicultural, definitely. Oh God, don't get me started on this, Helena. Helena, why'd you have to say that? You're speaking my language. Speaking my language with the smothered hash browns. I do smothered and peppered. And then, like, yeah, I do smothered and peppered sometimes. I like the kick to them. Oh my God. Actually will be visiting Georgia next year for my mom's wedding, which is going to be interesting. And I'm definitely going to visit down to my Waffle House. Got to do it. Someone says, the Neuromancer world is so depressing. Kind of what stopped me getting into Cyberpunk. It's just such a grim idea. Yeah, it definitely is. I would recommend Snow Crash, though, because I recommend Snow Crash because it's more fun. It's more fun, yeah. Someone says, congrats on your mom. Yeah, it's super exciting. She's actually getting married to like her high school boyfriend, I think it was. Yeah, so like they've been together, they've been apart for like decades, and now they've found each other again, I guess. So that's really interesting. Um, so I heard you guys call scones biscuits. Do we? I gotta, what is a scone? Okay, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's a biscuit. That's a biscuit. Yeah. That is a biscuit for sure. Yeah, we call scones biscuits. Someone says Americans don't know what proper gravy is. Wow. That is a low blow. That's a low. Yeah, you haven't had Southern gravy then. You know, the thing is, I think a lot of people in America, right? Thanksgiving comes around, and I've seen this on the internet a bunch, right? Where people will be like, the turkey is the worst part of Thanksgiving. Like turkey is overrated." Stop saying that because you're just exposing the fact that your family can't cook when you say that turkey is not good. Because go on Twitter or X right now, and I posted a picture of the turkey that I made. So in my family, we always do it. We've always done a very specific way, right? We we inject that thing with all the seasonings, and then you gotta let it sit for a couple days, for several days, and then we take that thing, put it in a vat of boiling hot 350-degree peanut oil, and we deep fry it. You deep fry it, and it locks in all the flavor, it locks in the juiciness, and then when you cut it, it's like the best, most delicious turkey you've ever seen. So that's how you do a turkey, right? Everyone out there with their families like dry turkey, talking about like turkey's not good, don't know what you're talking about. Your family can't cook, right? You don't know what you're talking about. Go check out my turkey. I posted it on Twitter. Go check that out. My turkey doesn't need the gravy. My turkey doesn't need the gravy. I'm definitely gonna put the gravy on it, but it doesn't need it because it's juicy enough. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you think turkey's not good, it's just because your family can't cook. Deep fry that thing the southern way. We're from the south here. From the south. That's how we do it. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. That skin. You'd be surprised. It's not as unhealthy as you would think, because when it comes to like deep fried food, what makes it high calorie and high fat is the breading usually, and you're not gonna put breading on a deep fried turkey, so it's not gonna be that much higher calories than compared to like a turkey cooked the normal way. It's actually not gonna be. Was it Snowcraft or Snow Crash? It's Snow Crash, and that actually refers to the virus that appears in that book. There's like this weird virus that's like, because everyone is plugged in in this world. Everyone's like plugged into like the cyberspace realm or whatever. So there's this virus that's introduced in cyberspace that can also affect people physically, and the virus is called Snow Crash. And I think, well, I know Snow Crash is basically it's considered like kind of a parody of cyberpunk. Like cyberpunk after after Neuromancer, it just became like such a thing where everyone was trying to do cyberpunk. And then when Neil Stevenson comes along, he's like, I'm gonna like kind of poke fun at it a little bit. So it's a great, fun story that also has a lot of really interesting ideas in it. Lots of really interesting ideas in that one. Could you tell us a bit about your wall art? Well, I am blanking on the artist of that one, but that is, I believe, Balerion the Black Dread outside of the gates of Harrenhal. I believe that is what that is. And I got that at a Game of Thrones convention, right? I believe that that's what that is. And up there, we just got like a Ouija board that's from my like first Halloween special. And then we got a 55th anniversary Star Trek magazine with Spock on the cover. And then right there, I don't know why it's on the wall. It's just been on the wall. We've got the picture of me and Jaime Lannister from Game of Thrones. Should probably take it off the wall. But yeah, Nikolai. And then we've got the 100,000 YouTube play button for Quinn's ideas. And then over there, very tiny, is like just a little bit of art of my graphic novel Tadia, which was my first graphic novel. And I don't have a cut. Oh, yeah. So yeah, over there it's just like art I like Tadia. That's my first graphic novel, Tadia. Which, by the way, this cover here is like totally sold out on the website. Like since we launched Lie Behind the Star, like these like sold all the way out. So it's only a matter of time before like the other ones sell out. I guess they're going very quickly. So yeah, so that's freaking great that people are giving Tadia the respect it deserves. But yeah, so that's what's on the wall. Yeah, order Tadia today and receive it before Christmas. Yeah, the Tadia books will definitely, if you order it now, it would totally ship before Christmas. But yeah, of course, The Lie Behind the Star is a work in progress. Okay. Quinn, what do you think of In the Mouth of Madness? Have not seen it. Have not seen it. Someone says, how many times has Ancient Aliens been used in stories? I'm sure countless times. It's a compelling idea. You know, that's why people like Graham Hancock, that's why he sold so many books. It's because like the idea itself is fun. Like, does it have any like actual historical basis or scientific basis? Like, probably not. But yeah, it's in countless stories. Countless stories. Countless. Any sci-fi anime you would recommend, Quinn? Honestly, I need you guys to recommend sci-fi anime to me, right? So I feel like I'm just now really getting into anime for like the first time since I was like a kid, right? So I like blew through Attack on Titan, and that was like great. Yeah, it's the Ouija board. Yeah, that's definitely a Ouija board. I blew through Attack on Titan, and now we're doing Demon Slayer. So I need some suggestions for you. Yeah, I'm gonna actually show you guys my Necronomicon. Some of you might have noticed it over here. My Necronomicon sitting over there ominously. Yeah, check this thing out. It's a big, big book. Yeah. What secrets? I don't know. Should I read out some of these incantations? There's a lot of dark stuff in here. Lots of prophecies and junk. Could be useful. Could be useful. Yeah. Yeah, I love this thing. Yeah, look at that. thing. Look at this. Wait, yeah. Oh, yeah, I love this page here. Yeah, let me check that out. That is sick, right? That is sick. Pick a random page. You don't just read out loud from a book of magic. Have you not seen The Mummy? You mustn't read from the book. Check that out. That's pretty cool, right? Bunyip. There's a whole like section in here on like demons and junk. Yeah. Yeah, check that out. Check that out. It says observations upon the nature, number, and the operations of the devils. Right? It looks like the Charmed Book of Shadows. That's because it like literally is an exact replica of the Charmed Book of Shadows, right? And this is actually probably like higher quality than the hero prop they actually had on this show. Yeah. Yeah, I've been obsessed. I have literally been obsessed with like big books of like spells and stuff like this, like since I was like a kid. And I feel like half of that obsession was like probably kicked off by that show. Yeah. There's a whole section in here about the undead. That's interesting. Like potions, incantations. Look, vampires and shit. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I don't need to go reading any of this out loud. But yeah. There it is, though. Super, super nice. It's basically my favorite prop it's my favorite, like, thing that I have. It's like my favorite, like, big book that I have. Right, and I'll be right back, because if you guys think that Ouija board on the wall is cool, I got something to show you. Yeah, so if you're freaked out by that Ouija board, then I guess you won't like this one. Yeah. I really, really like this one. It's my favorite. Like, I'm not like a spiritualist or anything. I don't like believe in like spirits or like black magic or any of that. But I do very much enjoy the aesthetic. The aesthetic. We did like a witchy Halloween party like one year. That was super awesome. Yeah. I've actually never even tried to do the whole Ouija board thing. AK says, and now I want to do a Charmed rewatch. You know, it's definitely like a hit or miss show. You know, all those like 90s shows are just like some good, some it's like I don't know, like Buffy and Angel, like all of those shows were just like hit or miss. Especially Charmed, though. I feel like Charmed definitely suffered when Shannon Doherty left. Like when Shannon Doherty left that show, like you really, really see like how like the wrong entities took over. Like I think like the main woman that created it was way more interested in like the Wiccan side of things, and she wanted to make it more serious. And then she left, and then Shannon Doherty left, and then it just became like sexy women running around and like almost nothing fighting demons, and it just became like not as good as it could have been. So I see Charmed as one of those shows that like had a lot of potential to begin with, but then really fell off. And then of course the remake is just absolutely uninspired. Like I tried the remake, I gave it a few episodes. I lost it when they showed the white lighter, and then there's no white lights though. He doesn't like he has this like weird Harry Potter effect that's happening, and that was very upsetting. Someone says Buffy and Angel are excellent. Buffy and Angel are definitely better than Charmed. They're definitely more consistent as far as like writing. Definitely. But then there's something about Charmed that I think draws in like a slightly different audience. But I don't know. X-Files. X-Files is definitely one of those that has like that's hit or miss. It's pretty rocky. But I gotta get through all of X-Files. X-Files it's one that I haven't finished. So I've got to finish all of that. Mm-hmm. Oh, Dark City. That is a great sci-fi movie. That is a great one. And that's one that like totally inspired The Matrix. A lot of the ideas that people attribute to like the Matrix being that the people say the Matrix invented, I think actually come from Dark City, and like even the look of it is very Matrixy. Definitely watch Dark City. Definitely watch that one. It's so good and freaky. It's freaky. Outer Limits is a great show. I love any kind of sci-fi anthology because the thing with sci-fi anthology and the thing even with like I feel like episodic TV shows like the X Files is that like not every episode has to be good, right? Like sometimes one episode is better than the other. Sometimes the other episode isn't as good. Sometimes there's a really good episode. You know what I mean? So a lot of these things were like syndicated, um, and the thing with syndicated shows is that they need, and it's kind of a failing. It's like they need to like make every episode kind of standalone ish, and that kind of that if that's not done the best way, it can screw stuff up. Like Star Trek: The Next Generation was like that, but they did it a really interesting way. X Files, I don't know. Charmed, definitely not. Charmed definitely suffers from the fact that it's syndicated because like they have to constantly like explain the fact that like each girl has a different power and they constantly have to like explain everything in every episode so they're not allowed to like grow significantly and they're always doing the same things over and over again. So that's really frustrating about syndicated TV shows, but that's why I prefer like the way shows are now, which is why it's even more exciting that they are now remaking some of these 90s things, you know, like some of the 90s things that could use a rewrite, but then they're not, you know, they're not like they're not taking advantage of the fact that it's no longer syndicated and that you can tell these like connecting stories, and that's very, very, very frustrating. Syndicated means that they produce the show and then they sell it to different networks that can like air it like whenever they want. And sometimes they air it out of order or like whatever. Like a lot of shows are like syndicated. So there's no like specific network that like owns it. It's just like it's airing on a lot of stuff at like once. Like Star Trek was airing like in different places, you know what I mean? Like that. That's what it means. Dave says, Quinn, you are my favorite channel. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. Someone says, I lost all respect for Tron when they made a copy of the Dreadlock viruses from the Matrix Reloaded as demons. Did they do that? I feel like that does sound familiar. I remember some Dreadlock demons. Did anybody recommend me any animes, though? Oh, yeah, Black Mirror. The last couple seasons of Black Mirror have not done it for me, honestly. Um, the earlier seasons were superior, in my opinion. I feel like they're trying too hard to like I don't know, they're trying too hard to be Black Mirror, it feels like now. You know what I mean? It almost feels like it's not even it's like parroting itself. Yeah, I don't really the last season kind of bummed me out. I felt like there was like one half good episode and the rest of it was just like a bunch of people have recommended Akira and my friend Danica is actually doing a documentary on that. They just finished that Kickstarter, which is super freaking sweet. And don't forget to check out my Indiegogo campaign for The Lie Behind the Star. 2 weeks to go. Check out the tiers if you want to support the channel. Vampire Hunter, interesting. Berserk, of course, Berserk. And the actual anime for that one that's not even out yet, right? It's coming. But I have like some of the manga volumes, and that one definitely is one that I'm definitely gonna watch the anime of that one. Metropolis is good. Metropolis is good. Like, who wrote Metropolis? I assume you're talking about the graphic novel. Check your Twitter DMs. I will after the stream, AK. Yeah, Danica is Comic Book Girl 19. She's awesome. She has like her Dune Club that's super epic. Like some of her older videos are just like the best videos you will ever watch. She has a really great video on Frank Herbert. Really great video on Stephen King that she did. She has a really in-depth video exploring like the Prometheus universe and also Alien Covenant where she's like dissecting the whole thing and like how it went wrong and like all of it. She's just got so many great videos and like her X-Men, her Epic History X-Men is like on another level. Like she's yeah. So definitely check her out if you don't know about Comic Book Girl 19. And she's got a lot of Doom knowledge. Like she's got like She's like the Dune brain. Like, seriously. Evangelion, okay. That's one. Why if I'm in a great mood? Is that one gonna depress me? Is that why you say if I'm in a great mood? Carl Karsnark. Comic Girl 19's Dune Club series is amazing. Very deep dives. Yeah, absolutely. She goes very, very in depth on Dune. Oh. Epic History X-Men. I've got to like get some streaming buddies because I want to do more streams, but I want to do streams with more people coming on that are not just me. So, got to figure it out. Got to figure out who I would like to have come on. How do you think Frank Herbert would have ended the Dune saga? I think that the end of Dune was leading to him trying to explain a system in which humanity can govern itself effectively and also have longevity within the cosmos. I think that he was basically trying to say with Dune is that the way we operate as a species is kind of is unsustainable, and that there are better ways to operate as a species, even though they'll be different and they'll be like it'll be hard to achieve. I think that's basically the point. I think he was gonna spend book seven exploring that essential idea and like try to work out like what like how humans can live better and survive in the cosmos. So yeah, that's like the gist. Those are the broad strokes of it. And of course, he had introduced the idea of like the face dancers, Daniel and Marty. So that's obviously something that's very different from the Brian Herbert stuff, where we go into the machines. We don't need to get into that now, but yeah. Mm-hmm. Ghost in a Shell is one that always gets recommended. And I know people really don't like that Scarlett Johansson movie, but noted. I will not watch the Scarlett Johansson one, but I will check out the anime. Worms and blue-eyed people do drugs, basically. That is Dune. Okay. Okay. So we've gone over at the Mountains of Madness. Does anybody have any more recommendations or questions about anything before we wind down the stream today? Ever heard of the Elric saga? Why on the Fall says I actually have. That's Elric of Melniboné. Elric of Melniboné. Elric of Melniboné. I can never think of how to pronounce it, but yeah, that's Moorcock. So yeah, I have heard of that. That was a huge inspiration for A Song of Ice and Fire, actually. There's a lot of A Song of Ice and Fire ideas that are present in that one. Animatrix is pretty goodly, and I have seen that one. Vampire Hunter seems up my okay. I'll check that one out. Yeah, I've seen Animatrix, and I'm pretty sure there's a video of me like quickly reviewing it on the channel somewhere. Trigun, never seen it, but I will check it out. I'm definitely going through an anime phase a little bit right now. Okay. Sun Eater by Christopher Ruscio. Sun Eater. Interest. Okay. It's one that I can put on a list. I think I might have already added that one to an Amazon cart because I'm pretty sure someone recommended that one on Twitter, which by the way, definitely go follow me on X if you're into that sort of thing. Follow me on X because we're always posting stuff on there. Let's see. Nausicaa by Miyazaki. Have I heard of that? Nausicaa. Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. Post-apocalyptic anime fantasy film. Interesting. What? Shia LaBeouf is in this? Was Shia LaBeouf like a kid in this? This is 1985. It's got Patrick Stewart. So Mark Hamill. So okay, so literally Mark Hamill, Patrick Stewart, and Shia LaBeouf. That's actually insane. It's actually insane that I've never heard of this. Huh. So that has to go on the list. Nausicaa of the Valley. Interesting. Interesting, interesting. All right, I think we're going to wind down now. Wind down. Um, yeah, thanks everyone for joining me for the stream. I think it was good. We had a nice Lovecraft chat. Went through At the Mountains of Madness, talked a little bit about some more things. And yeah, that was super fun. Don't forget to check out the link in the description to check out the graphic novel. Check out the link in the description. Consider supporting the channel by checking out the graphic novel. It means the world to me. We've only got 2 more weeks. We're going 2 more weeks. We have hit the funding goal, but if you want to reserve a copy of the book and get it like before everybody else does, then you can check out the link in the description. And yeah, these are nice big hardcover books. And we've also got the paperback ones that are a lot cheaper, and then also ebooks. And there's also an audio version that I'm going to do as well, and you can get that one. So yeah, please, please, please help out by supporting it. I love you all so much. Thanks everybody for joining. Everyone have a wonderful day. Happy holidays to everyone. Someone says The Jesus Incident by Frank Herbert. I feel like that's been recommended a lot, actually. I love you all. Everyone have a wonderful day. And sweet dreams. Peace, everybody.